They said the British pound would rule forever, but history had other plans. Every empire believes its money is immortal, right up to the moment it collapses. Tonight, we uncover how the world's strongest currency quietly surrendered its crown, and why the dollar, just like the pound, now stands on the same dangerous edge. To understand the future, we must return to London, 1914, when supremacy began to crack. The British Empire controlled half the planet, yet its foundation was already rotting. The pound was backed by global colonies, forced trade routes, and unchallenged naval power. But hidden beneath the surface lay fragile debts and a financial system stretched to breaking. When World War I erupted, Britain printed money faster than it could justify. Gold reserves drained, confidence crumbled, and the pound's aura of safety evaporated. Yet the public saw none of this. They believed the empire was too mighty to fail. Governments hid the truth, masking decay with speeches, slogans, and patriotic illusions. But markets don't follow speeches, they follow math, and the math was merciless. By the 1920 seconds, Britain fought desperately to restore the pound's former glory. They forced the pound back onto the gold standard at an unrealistic inflated value. This decision strangled the economy, crushed exports, and triggered deep social unrest. Across the empire, confidence shattered. The world sensed Britain's weakening pulse. Meanwhile, a new power quietly rose an ocean away. Patient, calculating, relentless. The United States held the gold, the factories, and soon, the financial destiny of the world. As Britain struggled to breathe, the dollar quietly positioned itself for global dominance. But the pound wasn't dying all at once. It was bleeding slowly, quietly, invisibly. Each new loan, each deficit, each colonial revolt pushed it deeper into fragility. By 1931, the pressure snapped. The pound abandoned gold entirely, humiliating the empire. Global markets panicked. Investors fled. Trust evaporated faster than governments could react. For the first time in centuries, Britain was no longer the world's financial axis. Meanwhile, America emerged from the crisis with unmatched strength and industrial momentum. The dollar now held what the pound had lost: credibility, resources, and global reach. When World War II erupted, the shift accelerated. Empires crumble fastest under war's weight. Britain borrowed endlessly from America, trading sovereignty for temporary survival. Each loan tightened the noose. Every dollar borrowed strengthened America's future dominance. By 1944, the world gathered at Bretton Woods to rewrite the rules of global finance. Britain hoped to preserve influence, but America arrived with leverage no nation could challenge. The dollar became the heart of the new order, the pound, a relic of fading glory. Britain resisted, protested, negotiated, but nothing could reverse the empire's financial gravity. By the war's end, Britain stood victorious militarily yet bankrupt economically. The colonies sensed weakness. One by one, they broke away, severing Britain's lifelines. Without global extraction, the pound lost its backbone. The empire's wealth source was gone. America now controlled 2/3 of the world's gold, and the dollar reigned unquestioned. The pound didn't just fall, it surrendered. Quietly, irreversibly, historically, and today the dollar stands precisely where the pound once stood: confident, dominant, blind. The signs were identical then: soaring debts, widening empires, and illusions of invincibility. Britain believed global power guaranteed monetary safety. Today, America repeats the belief. But currencies do not obey armies. They obey trust, and trust evaporates quietly. The pound's decline began not with a crash, but with subtle fractures no one noticed. Today, the dollar shows the same fractures: dollarization, swelling deficits, geopolitical strain. Nations are reducing reserves, shifting trade, building alternatives exactly as they did to Britain. But America, like Britain before it, insists the system will hold because it always has. In 1947, Britain still claimed leadership months before reality shattered the illusion. The pound couldn't support global trade, reserves drained until collapse became unavoidable. Today, the dollar bears similar weight, financing wars, deficits, and an exhausted global order. Like Britain, America relies on foreign creditors who are slowly stepping back. Bit by bit, confidence erodes, never suddenly, always gradually, until the break is irreversible. In Britain's case, the moment of truth arrived when markets rejected the pound's authority. For America, that moment may come when nations stop fearing repercussions for leaving. Britain underestimated how quickly alliances shift when confidence erodes. America now faces the same quiet recalibration: partners diversifying, rivals coordinating. The pound's downfall teaches a simple rule: power that rests on debt dies from debt. And America's debt curve mirrors Britain's. Final decade is steep, relentless, unsustainable. Yet the warning signs remain ignored, dismissed as noise, exactly as before every collapse. And so, the cycle tightens. Arrogance, denial, strain. Then the moment everything snaps. For Britain, that snapping point arrived in 1949, when the pound was brutally devalued. Overnight, national pride collapsed, fortunes evaporated, industries staggered, confidence died. The world understood then: Britain would never again lead global finance. America watched the collapse carefully and built a system preventing its own currency from falling. The IMF, the World Bank, the petrodollar, every pillar designed to ensure perpetual dominance. But systems built on dominance eventually face resistance, subtle at first, then explosive. China, Russia, India, the Middle East, they now play the role once played by rising America. They accumulate gold, forge new alliances, and bypass the dollar in strategic silence. The world is not attacking the dollar. It's simply preparing for life without it. Just as nations once prepared to escape the pound before its collapse, history's rhythm is steady. Trust weakens, alternatives form, dominance dissolves. Yet, America continues spending, printing, borrowing, believing the system cannot change. Britain believed the same until the night the markets forced surrender. The transition from pound to dollar was not democratic, it was enforced by reality. And now, global forces quietly push toward another transition, one America cannot veto. A multipolar system is forming slowly, methodically, inevitably. No single currency will dominate. Power will fracture across regions and alliances. This is not collapse. It is redistribution, the same shift that once dethroned Britain. But shifts are never gentle. They bring volatility, conflict, opportunity, and profound uncertainty. As the dollar weakens, nations will compete fiercely to shape the new world order. But as the dollar's pillars weaken, the world prepares for the unthinkable: another reserve currency in decline. Nations quietly reposition their wealth, just as countries once abandoned the pound when collapse became undeniable. The mechanism is always the same. When power concentrates, trust evaporates, and money flees to safer ground. From ancient silver drachmas to the pound sterling, every dominant currency believed its reign eternal until it wasn't. Now the dollar faces the same arithmetic: rising debt, shrinking trust, and rivals eager to carve a multipolar order. The transition will not be loud. It will be quiet, gradual, and invisible until one day it isn't. Just like Britain learned too late, reserve currencies die long before the world admits it. The symptoms are here: de-dollarization, alternative payment blocks, and gold reserves rising at historic speed. History whispers the warning: the world never loses a reserve currency. It quietly replaces it. And when the next shift arrives, it will reshape power, trade, and the destiny of nations. Because the world's money is never just currency, it is the story of who rules and who obeys. We stand again at the edge of change, watching a familiar pattern unfold with ruthless precision. The more the system strains, the louder the echoes of past collapses become. And yet, like every empire before, the present refuses to believe it could ever fall. But history is not merciful. It rewards balance and punishes excess. When one currency rules too long, the world eventually demands a new one. Call it evolution, correction, or fate, the cycle does not break. It simply resets. And we are living through the opening chapter of that reset right now. Stay alert, stay informed, and never assume today's system will survive tomorrow. If you want to understand the next chapter of global finance, subscribe, like, and join me as we reveal what history tried to hide.